So, Lottie is a Twilight fan. If you don't know what I'm getting at, the cover looked oddly similar to Twilight. On top of that, the characters in the story, werewolf, vampire, the main female character inside of the story, just a lot of similarities to the book series Twilight. However, this Nightfall book definitely seems to be a way better book than Twilight is, just because of some of the interesting things we heard about when it came to some of the volumes. Like, you know, Bella being able to grab a nuke or whatever. What the fuck? And then space travel and all this other crazy shit going on. I mean, Nightfall seems to be a very interesting book series. But getting on topic, though, this episode of Little Witch Academia, episode 4, dives into Lottie. And Lottie is a character that you can consider one of the main characters. Like, she is also a protagonist. Not just Akko, but Lottie is also a protagonist as well. And the same can be said for Susie as well. But this episode focuses on Lottie and what type of character she is, also what she truly enjoys, and also who she looks up as an idol. And so this is a very different type of perspective from what we have seen from Akko. Now let's talk about Akko and why this plays a huge role with this episode of Little Witch Academia. As we know, Akko, she wants to meet Shiny Chariot. She wants to meet Shiny Chariot. She looks up to Shiny Chariot. She wants to know everything about Shiny Chariot. She wants to be exactly like her idol. That's a big thing about Akko. She wants to do the crazy things that her idol did. And this episode is very similar, but it does a little bit of a difference compared to how Akko views her idol. And that is towards the end of the episode, we come to find out how Lottie feels about her idol, which is this book writer of Nightfall. And it really is a different perspective from what you would normally not see, because when you think of someone looking at someone and thinking of them as like their idol, or someone they really want to be like, or just, you know, they're constantly saying, holy crap, that man's amazing, and just looking up to him and all that, usually you actually picture the person that is actually looking at them as if their ideal person, ideal hero, or whatever. They're like, I want to be like that. That's what we think of as well. But in this case, Lottie was very different. She looked up to the book writer, she really appreciated everything the book writer did, but she did not want to be the book writer. And that really threw me for a loop. I'm like, whoa, there's a big contrast compared to Akko and how she views her idol, and how Lottie views her idol. Lottie is someone that wants to you know, I guess support her idol. She wants to be there and cheer for her idol, say, like, you can do it, you can write these great books, while Akko is someone that wants to be exactly like her idol, or even surpass her idol. And so I like the differences between these two characters and what this episode really tried to do. I don't think this episode would have been as good if it wasn't for the already established, you know, characterization for Akko. Akko, as we know, she wanted to be like Shiny Chariot. This, the exact opposite. Like, there's little different circumstances to that. So, I appreciate that. I appreciate Studio Trigger doing that with Lottie's character, and kind of how she was different, but very similar. So, besides that, let's just talk about this book volume series for a second. 365 volumes, not to be mistaken for manga volumes. Yes, 365 manga volumes. That's a shit ton of manga volumes. Like, oh my god, like, that is just mind-blowingly long. However, this isn't 365 manga volumes. Oh no, it's much longer. 365 books. I'm not talking about light novels. I'm not talking about manga. I'm not talking about comics. I'm talking about big-ass freaking thick books. That is how many books have been written in 120 years from this famous book writer that writes Nightfall. And that automatically screams like, holy shit, I could not get into the series. Because I'm going to be honest, people complain all the time. I see it all the time. People say, I can't get into the series because it's too long. They say it about One Piece, Hunter x Hunter, whatever. Any series that's long running, people will say the series is just too long, too many chapters. Like, I don't have the time to do it. And if you could say something like that about those series, I can't imagine what people would say about Nightfall. I can't even begin to imagine just the wars, the flame wars between the communities and stuff. If people say it's just too long of a series, why the fuck would you read it? There's no way you could catch up with 365 books. Like, oh, hell no. Like, I'm sorry. Even I, might have to side with, you know, the people saying it's just too long of a series to catch up on. I mean, if it's good writing, I would probably read it. However, 365 volumes, thick books, that's kind of ridiculous. So, I do have to say that when you think about 365 books written, I can't even begin to imagine what type of shit has gone down in that long of a series. I mean, there's some crazy stuff that goes down in long-running series, stuff that can last 100 manga volumes. You have some crazy revelations and twists with the characters, but when you take a moment to think about 365 books, can you imagine how well written that universe is? Like, just think about how large the universe is, like the entire verse, and then how the characters are developed. If the writer is truly competent, and to be able to last that long making that many books, you know it has to be a very good writer. On top of that, thanks to the pen being passed on to a new writer, and how the pen actually chooses the next writer, it lets you know that the writer is very competent, and that the books are probably really good. It takes a while to probably catch up, because, you know, 365 books, it's kind of off the charts now. So, Nightfall as a series is something I actually do hope that maybe I would like to see a parody video or something on it, like, you know, from Studio Trigger, even if they make a very short, like an anime short or something, like how they've done, you know, other series like Inferno Cop. I would love to see Studio Trigger do some form of short on Nightfall. I would love to see that, just because of some of the things that I saw in the episode when they mentioned these certain little things. It's fascinating. I mean, even though some might say, oh crap, it's like a Twilight parody, I would be very interested in actually seeing what Studio Trigger would do with something like that if it was actually made into an anime short or an anime series, or maybe even a movie or OVA. We'll have to see where they go with that, but I would love to have that happen. So getting back on topic though, let's just talk about some other stuff. So there was a search for the writer in this episode when the writer felt like she wasn't living up to the expectations of her readers. And I truly appreciate this moment too, because it's something that probably happens to a lot of writers or people that carry on legacies. Like, let's put a very good example. Let's say your father is very, very important. He's someone that's left behind a very large legacy, this massive legacy, and everybody looks up to your father and like, holy crap, this dude's amazing and all that. You know, you're following your father's footsteps, and that's a huge weight on the back of your shoulders. You're gonna have this pressure to where you have to live up to the expectations of everyone that has looked at your father like, holy crap, this man is amazing, and if you know, are following in his footsteps, you're gonna have to try to even surpass him and beat that man's legacy. So when you think about this writer that, you know, became the new writer of the book series Nightfall, you gotta imagine the weight of that. I mean, you carrying like 365 volumes on your shoulder, that I can't even begin to imagine the pressure. I mean, when someone is in a series for that long, you're reading the series, and when a new writer pops up, and you know you're the new writer, and you're having to write this book series, and you see how there's just this many books before you, that's gonna freak you the hell out. I mean, just imagine you have these hardcore fans that probably been with you for a very long time, or since they were very young, and all of a sudden you're now the new author, you're gonna be freaking out. You're like, holy shit, if I make one wrong move, everybody's gonna hate me. You know, am I gonna be able to live up to the expectations of all these volumes before me? I mean, it really adds a whole new perspective like this. I mean, just imagine, okay, let's put a huge picture in everybody's minds right now. Let's say for some reason, Oda-sensei that writes One Piece, that is well known in the anime and manga community, and even people that are not a part of the anime and manga community, some still know about One Piece, and Oda-sensei that writes One Piece. And when you take a moment to think about this, what if for some reason Oda had to change? For instance, he no longer could write One Piece, and let's just say his son had to take upon it. Like if, you know, his son wanted to write One Piece or something, like just something like that would happen, and, you know, he would start writing it. That would be a huge burden, because many would be looking at the new author, the son of Oda, like, hey, can you really surpass your father? Can you surpass him after all of this he's done, after all of this writing, after all of this build-up in characters? Can you beat your father? That is something that would be very scary. And so when you put it in perspective, something like One Piece that would already be a massive weight on the back of your shoulders, but now imagine 365 books on your shoulders. Yeah. So, the Little Witch Academia adds some much-needed characterization for Lottie, and also adds a very different perspective on how people view their ideal person in real life. Sometimes you don't need to be like your ideal person to admire them, sometimes you just want to support them on the side. So, well done, Little Witch Academia, Well done, Studio Trigger, and well done the entire production team that worked on this episode, and even the voice actors, the people that made the OST, all of that. Well done for everyone that participated in working in this episode. I truly enjoyed it. By far, probably my favorite episode yet of this series. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. You all have a wonderful day or night wherever you live. Please be safe. Chibi out.